Okay, we're going to open up today with first getting your peer response of your double entry journal for section 2 taken care of. So remember, within your group, what you want to do is take that form and you pass it in a big circle, and you want to make sure to read what exactly did your group member write down, to write your name, and to respond or comment in regards to what they wrote. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to take care of this. All right, go ahead, pass those packets around within your group, and make them a response with their comment that they wrote. Go to secondwithshape.com online, find it there, print it out. All right, now with your orange bookmark, what we've got to do is we've got to catalog the last activity that we took care of, and there is a component on the front that I want us to finish up as well. All right, so activity 3.3 is what we did yesterday. That was the first time that you really got to meet with your group members and actually discuss between shades of gray. So that whole idea of working as your job or role form, analyzing the book based on your job, and then discussing it, how does that really prepare you for your formal book discussion as your assessment? Go ahead and write your purpose statement down for that. When you're ready for it, go ahead and flip your bookmark over to the back side so you can catalog how activity 3.3 helps you practice concepts of your assessment. The back table. So you can take a look at the class bookmark. If you can't see it clearly, I'm just going to do the rundown. 3.3 helps you practice 5 out of the 10 concepts that your work's going to be graded on. So it helps you tackle or practice concept 2 of presenting ideas. 3.3 helps you practice concept 3 of providing elaboration in your discussion. It has you practice concept 5 of following an organizational structure in your discussion. It has you practice concept 7 of communicating with group members, and concept 8 of using appropriate diction and language within your discussion. Once you've got that cataloged, I want you to go ahead and flip your bookmark to the front side once again. And there's a column that we haven't touched yet. It's titled Brainstorming. We're going to go ahead and fill in 2 components of the brainstorming piece, pretty simple and easy. You've got the book title, that's the very topmost item, writing down the Reading Between Shades of Gray. And the final box at the bottom of brainstorming, it's a sentence frame and then a place to put notes. So you're filling in what is your job title, but also what are your responsibilities. So for responsibilities, you can just make a bullet point list. So as a discussion leader, one of your responsibilities is to be in control of your group. As a reporter, one of your responsibilities is to make sure that you summarize each section of reading. So I'm going to give you a minute to get that final piece of your bookmark ready to go. Once you feel your bookmark's completed, you can go ahead, put it away. We're not going to touch it anymore today. And I'm going to have you open up this Springboard to 171. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and diffuse that learning target real quick. So this activity's got two practicalities behind it. One is analyzing an autobiographical narrative, and second is explaining a theme that we can find within it. So step one was actually kind of a review of the in-question that you folks had. So what exactly would be the benefit of someone reading a personal narrative such as a diary or an autobiography about an event that is not in your time period? What kind of benefits are there? Yeah, good.
You can learn from their mistakes.
We can learn from an individual's mistakes. So please?
You can see what it is like from the primary source.
We can see what an event was like from a primary source. Yeah, Michael?
Never forget that the people who help change the world for the better.
Nice. Never forget about the people who could have helped in aiding making the world a better place. Those are all good reasons and all good benefits of incorporating or exploring pieces of work like that. Now, what you're going to be looking at today is a piece that you may or may not have read. It's definitely something you folks are going to be reading probably your freshman year, whether you're going to Sierra Vista or Southwest Career Tech. It's something you will see. And the piece comes from a Holocaust survivor, kind of like what you're going to be finding in your book of who survives and who doesn't. This person's name is Elie Wiesel. And Elie Wiesel is one of those rare individuals that not only survived, but he survived one of the most infamous areas that was being essentially tortured or hit at one point. So if you do me a favor, I'm going to ask you to make these marks in the About the Author section. You can highlight it, circle it, whatever you'd like. Elie Wiesel and his family, which consisted of his younger sister, his father and mother, they were taken from their home and they were thrown into Auschwitz. Now, Auschwitz is one of those most infamous, terrible places to be brought to. And Elie is one of those very rare cases of someone that survived that particular place. So you folks are going to be reading this piece. And with this piece, there are some questions that we're going to be answering. Now, unfortunately, Springboard didn't give you enough room to actually write your responses down. So what we're going to be doing is writing information in our raw notebook, since we don't have room in our Springboard to actually write responses to. So if you could, go ahead and pull out your notebook. This is going to be our fifth entry. So today's date's the 29th. The activity name is Night. This entry is going to end up being 2 pages, so it's up to you if you're going to want to be working front and back, side to side. But today's entry is just going to be 1 page. The second's going to pop up tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Monday, excuse me. So the first component that we're going to make sure is we're going to divide this piece in half. And the top portion we're going to be heading as key idea and detail questions, or those kid cues. We're going to be placing the kid cues on the top half of our page, and you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough even space. There's only 4 questions that we're going to be answering, but you might want to write a number, skip a line, write a number, skip a line. Give yourself enough space that you could write a couple of sentences per answer. And after we examine the memoir and we answer some questions about it, you folks are going to be working with your groups for a few prompts in regards to Night. So we're going to go ahead and label the second half as after reading prompts. There's going to be 2 separate prompts. So again, making sure that you folks are giving yourself even space is going to be crucial. We are going to have a Part A and a Part B. We'll be working with each essential chart kind of at a separate pace, so starting with the kid cues, then moving to the after reading component. I am going to give you folks kind of a decision making here of whether you want to read the piece together or if you want to complete reading the piece and the kid cues on your own. So we're going to do a majority rule. The piece is not very long. It's the front side of page 171 and the back side 172. That's it. It's a pretty emotional, powerful piece. It's one that I prefer to read aloud, but I'm going to give that choice up to you folks. How many of you would rather just kind of work on reading and answering the kid cues as a group? Again, it's majority rule. It's totally fine if you'd rather do that. Okay, how many are rather wanting to do it in class? Whole group. Whole group is meaning like the entire class. We read it as one big group. We answer the questions together. Okay, how many want to do separate? We're going to work with just our EA group. We just want to get through it. Okay. Majority rules that we're not going to do this as an entire class, that you're going to do it as separate groups. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So what I'm going to do is give you folks, let's say, about, let's go with maybe 10 minutes, see where you folks are at 10. So read through the piece as a group. Answer the 4 key idea and detail questions, then we'll come back and kind of review what you read. All right, folks, you've got time. 2, 1. All right, so you folks had about 10 minutes. Read through the passage, start answering the kid cues. I think most of you got all the way through it. If you didn't, it's not the end of the world. We're just going to do a quick review of each question, make sure that we're kind of on the same page here. So the first question was in response to how Wiesel used the pronouns of they and we. You know, obviously we know who they and we really are. That's just kind of one of those common sense, you can figure out the grammar with the pronouns you're placing. But why do you think Wiesel would have chosen to have a separate they and a separate we? What might have been his purpose, his rationale behind doing that? What do you think, Santiago?
To show confusion.
Maybe to show confusion between the people?
To show that he was one of the survivors and they didn't survive.
Okay, maybe to show that he was the survivor, but whoever they were was not. Anything else? Yeah.
Maybe even in the moment he was more worried about protecting the we and not they.
Okay, maybe he wanted to protect who we was representing versus they. All right, those are all good points. So our next question had to deal with a really disturbing component, and it came from Moshe the Beatles' view of how he saw everything happening, the idea of infants being thrown in the air and used as target practice, taking an innocent child and doing that. What are we supposed to pull from this type of language? What should we be gathering? Victoria?
It's supposed to show the heartlessness
Heartlessness of who?
of the people who were shooting the children.
Okay, so Victoria said it's showing heartlessness of those individuals that were having this happen. Donovan?
To make the Nazis sound more merciless, vicious.
Okay, use it to make the Nazis sound more merciless and vicious and cruel. Yeah, Taylor?
Show show that being extremely intense in school.
Nice, the scene is very intense. It's very disgusting to have to be witness to it. So pretty last thought?
It shows that there isn't a limit to the extent that they'll go to.
Good point. This is not an extreme limit that these people would go to. This is just kind of the beginning. All right, now, third question that you folks had, it was the idea that these people that Moshe is trying to protect, they're not listening. I've been dealt with this. You folks have seen people get pulled away. Why aren't you listening? Why do you think the Jews of Saget just said you're crazy? Why may they have refused to go, whatever, old man? What do you think, Christian?
Because
because they were under the impression that the Christians were like living a good life, but they weren't actually being considered.
See, good point. Christians said that these people were under the impression that those that were leaving were having a good life. Hey, they're just farming. It's not a big deal. Yeah, Michael?
They didn't want to believe that something was terrible, but actually it's a reality.
That's a good point. The idea that, hey, this is terrible, but it's a reality, we don't want to think of that. Putting it into perspective, how many times do you folks watch TV and you see those pictures of the kiddos that have nothing to eat, and they've got those big distended bellies, and how many of us don't really do anything? We see it, we know it's happening, but no, it's not. Those kids aren't my problem. It's kind of like a personal reality that we're facing right now. All right, and that last question, where the idea of what were the main events in this piece, why would he focus on those? Why do you think Weisel would have focused on this particular scene? Why might this scene of having a man that survived come back and try and warn people, why might that be something to bring up in his personal narrative? What do you think, Joshua?
Something that I just wanted to help others, and they didn't care about them. They just wanted to help everybody.
Good point. The idea that there's someone out there that cares about more than himself. I wanted to come back. I wanted to do something and make a difference. Michael?
I think it's so that they're not connected to the because those survived.
Really good point. Showing that the Nazis were actually successful. They did what they wanted to do, and even if we had someone come back, well, we're just going to pretend it's not happening. We don't believe it. Now, our next part is to get you folks, again, talking with your groups, which you've been doing, not a problem. But we're going to go ahead and work with part A of our next prompt, okay? Now, this one, you're going to work as a group. You're going to determine one significant tone that was transpiring between paragraph 6 and 7. So I want you to kind of refer back to your tone wheel, that blue half sheet of paper. Don't worry so much about length. I'm not looking for some 10-sentence paragraph, anything like that. But I want you to take about 5 minutes to decide what would be a really precise tone word for that scene, and then prove it. Use textual evidence. See if you can't pull an embedded quote and work with that too. All right, you've got 5 minutes to work with this. Okay, now part B. This one you can talk about with your group, but you're not necessarily going to be able to complete it as a group. What I want you to do for part B is I want you to analyze our excerpt of tonight as your job or role with our novel Between Shades of Grey. So, for instance, if you're the artist, what illustration could you develop to represent the excerpt that we read from tonight? If you're the discussion leader, what would be 2 questions that you would develop to hold a discussion? Now, on Monday, what we're going to be doing is taking these responses that you make, and we're going to have a discussion with this piece. So I'm going to give you, again, like last time, about 5 minutes, maybe a little less than that, to develop some talking points that you can bring up to a discussion on Monday. Okay, go ahead.